The biggest lie in Japanese baseball isn't the final score. It's the widespread assumption that the Yomiuri Giants remain the ultimate destination for an elite free agent. In reality, multiple high-caliber players slated to hit the open market this offseason have privately stated they view the Giants not as a goal, but as a cautionary tale, a gilded cage where the heavy atmosphere and overwhelming pressure are suffocating creativity and joy. This is no longer just internal grumbling. This is the market speaking, and it is rejecting the toxic culture of the Kyojin. Welcome to 604 News Now, where we cut through the corporate spin to discuss the invisible crisis crippling the Tokyo Dome, a crisis so palpable that players would rather chase a title in Hokkaido or Fukuoka than endure the weight of the Giants' bench. The core mystery we need to unlock today is how the biggest brand in NPB allowed its culture to rot to the point where players, faced with the limited years of a baseball career, openly choose organizational happiness over financial security and the supposed prestige of the black and orange. The evidence is overwhelming, and it paints a picture of a management philosophy dangerously out of touch with the modern athlete. Consider the perspective shared by one star player from a rival Central League team, speaking anonymously to a trusted reporter. "When I watch the Giants, I see players whose shoulders are heavy. When a pitcher is in a jam, his eyes go straight to the bench, searching for disapproval, not support. That is no way to live out your baseball dream." He went on to describe the atmosphere as tight and uncomfortable, contrasting it sharply with the bright and fun environments cultivated by teams like the Nippon Ham Fighters or the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. This isn't just about winning, it's about how you win. The obsession with a rigid, old-school discipline under manager Shinosuke Abe is creating a fear culture, not a winning culture. We have a situation where the manager is demanding sheer quantity of work, while the farm director, Ada, has publicly stated that quality and quantity are both vital, a subtle but powerful contradiction that reveals a profound disconnect in the organization's growth strategy. Abe is training good soldiers who follow orders, but he's crushing the innovators and the independent thinkers required to excel in today's high-velocity, high-information game. To understand the current disaster, we must look at their last significant success, the 2020 League Championship. That title, many experts agree, was essentially debt-financed on the arm of Tomoyuki Sugano. Sugano delivered an astronomical 15-win season that year, contributing roughly 12 wins above replacement by himself. He was the exception that proved the rule. One dominant veteran ace was able to mask systemic deficiencies. Once Sugano departed for MLB and the temporary scaffolding was removed, the inherent rot was exposed. When Masahiro Tanaka returned to Japan, did he choose the Giants? No. When players like Yuki Yanagita have been rumored to consider free agency, the Giants are barely mentioned as a serious contender. Why? Because the cost of putting on that uniform is no longer worth the return. Some old guard fans, those who cherish the fighting spirit mantra, might argue that this disciplined approach is necessary, that the sheer magnitude of the Giants' brand demands strict adherence to tradition. They might say that successful teams have always demanded sacrifice and conformity. This is where the counter-argument collapses under the weight of modern data.
While the Giants rely on rote repetition and doing your time, organizations like the Fighters and the Hawks are utilizing advanced biomechanics and personalized training regimens that have demonstrably accelerated the readiness rate of their top prospects by nearly 18% over the past 5 years compared to the Giants' farm system. Discipline without psychological safety is tyranny, and what Abe demands is not focused effort, but penitence.
When a manager openly demands that players who underperform come apologize to me, you aren't fostering accountability, you're demanding submission. This environment instantly repels the emotionally intelligent, highly compensated athlete of the current generation. The emotional climax of this cultural catastrophe centers entirely on Abe's perceived indifference to his own history and his lack of self-awareness. The discussion of the time he allegedly struck teammate Toshiyuki Sawamura during his playing days, and the widely circulated comment where he reportedly dismissed the incident by saying the aggressive version of himself is still inside me, is deeply troubling. An anonymous source close to the club recently stated, "It's not just that he demands conformity. It's the casual way he jokes about past abuses of power. He smiles while signaling a profound lack of empathy." How can you command trust when you don't even pretend to regret previous transgressions? This casual cruelty and sense of entitlement create the heavy, anxious atmosphere FA targets describe. They see a manager who believes his methods are above reproach, and who views emotional vulnerability as a weakness to be exploited, not a trait to be supported. This psychological pressure is why key players, like perhaps even the injured Kazuma Okamoto last season, perform under duress, knowing every pitch is scrutinized, not just for execution, but for attitude. If Okamoto had played the entire season, would they have won the pennant? Unlikely, because the fundamental lack of cohesion and the reliance on temporary patch job veteran signings, instead of developing talent from within, proves that the organizational strategy is broken. The true long-term disaster is the stunting of young talent, the young players whose growth is inhibited by fear of failure and constant punitive measures. The irony is that the Giants' prestige, the very thing they try to leverage, is being actively used by players to measure how quickly they can flee a potential move. The open loop we started with, the reluctance of FA players to join the Giants, is now fully explained. It's an institutional aversion to a culture that suffocates happiness and creativity. The only real solution that offers immediate psychological relief to the clubhouse and the fan base is a drastic change in leadership style, perhaps by immediately promoting a revered, modern leader like Hayato Sakamoto to a coaching or managerial role, someone who commands respect without resorting to archaic authoritarianism.
Ultimately, the question isn't whether the Giants can win with stopgap signings, but whether they can fix the culture that is actively repelling the future of the league. If the atmosphere remains this suffocating, the brand equity of the Giants will continue to erode until the once coveted uniform becomes a sign of organizational failure.
We want to know what you think. If you were an elite free agent, would the history and salary of the Giants outweigh the palpable toxicity of their bench? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow baseball fans, and subscribe to 604 News Now for continuous deep dives into the heart of the game.